Ooh, Derek, we're back.
What's up, Stu?
We're back, man.
Man.
We don't have an audience this time, but you know what we've got? We've got each other.
We do. We got each other.
We have each other.
We do. Which is always good.
I want the audience to know that even though you can't see him, Derek is matching. He's wearing a nice yellow shirt with some yellow shoes and some white jeans. He looks very spring, man.
I'm so
very
stoked.
spring.
I'm so stoked that it's springtime. Like, I was waiting to pull these white jeans out. But here's the thing, though. You can wear white jeans during Christmas. Like, you know, they say don't wear white after Labor Day. You can, but you have to match it with, like, fall colors up top.
Sure.
So, you know, little FYI.
Okay, good to know. Fashion tips from Derek. We may add that as a segment to the show at some point.
That'd be a bad idea, Stu. But as much as it is good to see your face, we do have a really killer guest, which we'll get to.
Yes, we do. We're going to hear some good stories tonight. I have a feeling.
Yeah.
I have a feeling.
Yeah, it's going to be
I don't know how to pronounce his last name, though. He's made it very unclear how to pronounce his last name.
Oh, you don't know?
I don't know.
What the heck? Well, I know.
You pronounce it.
No, I'm not going to say it. You figure it out later.
Fine, Derek.
We're going to have some good beers tonight. Good stories. Good fears.
Good fears, good beers. And Derek, you know what? Let it roll, my friend.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi, my name is Stu Hawk, and this is my podcast about all the weird, crazy, spooky things that scare me and my guests, and the one thing that helps us forget all about them. Ladies and gentlemen, beer freaks. You know what I wish?
Oh, boy.
I wish we had the rights to Tom Sawyer by Rush, because that music is like the best intro music of all time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. What's the law, though? I think we can play like 10 seconds without having
that might
to,
get us
like,
what we need.
There's like a law, like it's a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
Okay. We can clip it. Anyways, Derek.
Yeah.
Who's our guest today, man?
Oh my gosh, man. So we got this amazing guest today. Awesome writer. He writes about beer, which we need to have him on the podcast.
Duh.
Writes about food.
Dude.
Yeah. Oh, man. And his name, you know what, Stu? I'm going to let you take this.
Bob. Today we have Bob Barnes.
No.
Damn it.
It's not that hard.
Bob Barnes.
Yes, you got it.
Bob Barnes, welcome to the show. I kid because you gave me shit earlier on the
Yes, I
before
did.
the show. You said my name is pronounced Bob Barnes, and I was like, "Oh, that's unexpected." And then you were fucking with me. So, anyway, welcome to the show, Bob.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thanks for coming, man.
And you even gave me beer to drink, so
Well, you know
what
what?
could be bad about
We
that?
do what we can.
It's in the title of the show. We feel like it's an obligatory sort of thing at this point, but we enjoy it. And even though we're recording on a Tuesday, I might have several of these bad boys.
You know, it's happy hour, though. Like, it's Tequila Tuesday. We got some right there.
I think most people say Taco Tuesday, but
That's silly.
Here we
That's well, no, intermingle.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So, Bob, we'd first of all, thank you again for coming to the show. Very, very excited to have you. For our guests, can you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and a little bit about your history?
Well, first of all, I'm a native Las Vegan. I'm very proud of that. So
Not many of those.
Wow.
I'm born and raised here. We're around. We're just outnumbered. But,
That's a big deal. You don't meet a lot of those.
right.
So you've seen it. You've seen the change. You've seen it's got to be crazy.
I tell people I grew up in a small town, and I did.
Yeah.
I'm really old, so
Well, you don't look it,
No, not at all.
thank you.
but you definitely have a wealth of experience when it comes to beer and food and writing and Vegas. So we'd love to hear a little bit about your experiences here.
Well, the funny thing is, I never wanted to be a writer. I never had an ambition to be a writer. It's something that just kind of fell into my lap. But after it did, it's something that I became very passionate about, and I love it so much. I guess I might back up a bit and tell you when I was a kid, I wanted to be a rock star
Nice.
or a Major League Baseball player, and both of those involved fame.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I never got anything close to that, but I have a teeny amount of fame, and I kind of enjoy that, to be quite honest with you.
Well, you're well known around the beer
Yeah.
community here. and I'm glad Derek was able to track you down. I feel like we got lucky getting you on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm glad to be here. But if I could, I'll tell you the story how I became a beer writer.
Please.
Yeah, we'd love it. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. No, I'm kidding. Of course.
Derek.
Of course, Bob.
You can, being
gotta
a
hear
former school teacher too, please feel free to kick him out of class for a little bit
please.
if you need to.
Well, back in the late 90s, it was 1998, I was a home brewer. And back then you were a home brewer because that's the only way you got good beer unless you bought imported beers. So it was just the very infancy of the craft beer movement. So anyway, I was a home brewer since the 80s. And at the time I was in our homebrew club, Snafu, and I was president of the club, and I also did the club newsletter. So I used to read Celebrator Beer News from cover to cover. And they had this section in there called the Hop Spots. And the hot spots were just a listing by state and city of the different breweries in that city. And back then you could do that because there weren't too many, even in the major beer cities. So I noticed that 777 Brew Pub at Main Street Station wasn't in the list, and they'd been open for like 2 years.
Yeah.
So I sent a letter to the editor, Tom Daldorf, and I simply said, this place has been open for a few years. It's not in your list. And by the way, if you ever need someone to help you with info, I'm president of the Homebrew Club and do our club newsletter, so I could help you out with info.
Nice.
To my surprise, he writes back and says that he's been looking for someone to write about Las Vegas. Would I be interested?
Yeah.
So he totally took a chance on me, didn't know anything about me. And so I was like, sure. So then it's kind of started there in 1998. And over the years, I eventually expanded out into writing about food and have written for several different publications over the years.
That's awesome. And I like that it all started with you kind of defending your city, like standing up for your city. You're like, you know what? Where the hell are we? What's going on here? What about these guys?
Yeah. And being a native Las Vegan, I'm always going to defend my city and take pride in my city.
That's awesome, man. That is super cool. What a cool story.
Yeah, dude, I love it. And we talk about that so much on the show too, is like how amazing the city of Las Vegas is, you know?
Yeah.
So it's cool that you did that.
And a lot of the people that we do talk to, by the way, do not have the kind of longevity that you have in this town. I mean, you've seen it from, a lot of the early beginnings. I mean, back when you started homebrewing, how many breweries were there in Vegas?
None.
I mean, literally it was Main Street.
The very first one was Holy Cow, which is now Big Dogs.
Yes.
Wow. Well, 1993 is when Holy Cow opened.
That's right. And it was on the Strip, right?
Kind of. At that time, we had this weird law in Nevada that for a brew pub in a city more than 100,000 population had to be in either a historic or a redevelopment zone. So that's why Holy Cow was on the north side of Sahara, on the corner of Las Vegas Boulevard, which technically I wouldn't call the Strip, but that was a redevelopment area. And then lo and behold, a couple of years later, Monte Carlo wanted to open a brew pub. So what do you know? They got the law changed right away.
Oh, sure.
So,
yeah.
Of course they did. Yeah.
That casino dollar spent speaks a lot. It
That's
speaks
crazy.
a lot.
I didn't know that.
But also back in the late 80s, I remember going to the Draft House, which is now where the Big Dogs Brewery is. And I remember being so excited because they had 12 beers on tap. That was just so unbelievable.
That's nuts.
At that time. And now it's like, oh, you only have 12 beers on tap?
12 is, yeah.
What were the 12 they had on tap? Was it just like your normal stuff? And then
I really can't remember.
Yeah.
But I think I do remember being very excited to find a Sam Adams somewhere.
Yeah,
That's
awesome.
I'm
dude.
so glad that you said that, by the way, because I will just say this. I moved here with my wife in 2011. And that was the funny thing. I remember most places that we went to go eat. Now, if we went to like a specialty bar, they would have a good selection of craft beers. But if we went to just like a normal place to eat, there were 3 beers on tap normally, like Coors Light, Bud Light, Miller Lite. And if you were lucky, you would get Sam Adams. Sam Adams was like a lucky strike at that point.
It's crazy.
And don't get me wrong, Sam Adams is a great beer. The Sam Adams Boston Lager.
Yeah.
But it's just that now there's so many diversity of flavors and beer styles.
Yep. Now, what's your favorite style? I won't ask you your favorite brewery because I know you have to play it political here. But what is your favorite style of beer?
Well, I wouldn't say just one, but my favorites are barley wine, Imperial Stout, and Belgian triple, and pretty much anything Belgian-y and barrel aged beers.
Okay,
I like sour a little bit, and don't get me wrong, I'm not picking these beers because they're high in alcohol and I want to get drunk.
Yeah,
but a lot of the flavor does come from that higher ABV alcohol.
Sure,
100%. I totally agree with you there. And I do have to say though, so are you an IPA fan at all, Bob? Can you do IPAs? Because we have someone on the show that's his favorite thing, and it's not me. So
wonder who it is.
I have to tell you that IPA used to be my favorite style.
Yeah.
And now not so much. I mean, I'll drink an IPA and I won't turn it down.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to choose a beer, it'd be one of the last ones I choose just
Gotcha.
because as I got older, my taste buds have changed.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I kind of like the hazies more than
Yes.
the regular IPAs.
I'll give you that. I'm a hazy guy.
But yes, I am an ardent IPA. I've tried to fall in love with other styles. I do like Belgians, but I can't drink many.
Yeah.
Did you ever try, by the way, speaking of these two styles coming together, did you ever try and I may be pronouncing this wrong, Stone had a Cali Belgi IPA.
Yes, I did have that one.
What did you think of that one?
I liked it. I liked it because it had a little bit of that Belgian funk
Yeah. Yes.
to take away from the full-on bitterness of the IPA.
One of my favorite beers. And I think they stopped making it, which really bummed me
Yeah, I
out.
don't think they make it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was very ubiquitous for a while. I really liked it.
But speaking of IPAs, I actually won a homebrew best of show competition with my IPA.
Really?
And the grand prize was actually put on by Mud Shark Brewing Company in Lake Havasu.
Whoa.
This is around about the year 2000. And so the grand prize of winning best of show was you got to go down there and brew your recipe scaled up to their system.
Whoa.
So I went and did that. It was in July. I remember getting out of the car and it was 120 degrees.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's so hot up there.
Oh, yeah.
But we brewed the beer, and funny thing is, they had done an IPA just once before. This was back when nobody knew anything about IPAs,
Sure.
around 2000, and so they had to dump it out because nobody would buy it. And so we brewed my IPA, and people liked it so much that they continued to brew it.
No way.
Are they still making it like today?
I don't think so. It's been so many years, so.
That's amazing, dude.
That is awesome.
How freaking cool! I mean, that's like every brewer's like
That's
dream,
pretty
right?
rad.
Like
That
to
is
brew
rad.
in a big brewer's deal and like have it sold.
Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
and of course, they had me do all the grunt work. You know, so.
I was just
Yeah.
going to say that.
Of
So
course.
I just got to throw this out there. What a brilliant marketing play that they had there, because you won a contest and your prize of winning that contest was going to work in their brewery and doing the work.
Doing the work
You know.
they didn't like doing
Yes.
because it was not that fun to
Brilliant.
to shovel out
Was it-
spent grain and all.
Was it hard to dial it up though? Because you kind of had your recipe dialed in for what you were making. Like, was it? I mean, obviously the math. I guess you just dial it up, but still, was it like kind of overwhelming? Or
No, I didn't have to do the math.
Okay,
the,
good.
The brewmaster did that.
cool. Okay, nice.
Because I don't think it's always linear. I don't think it's always just a linear
I think
math.
So he
equation.
just did the best version he could do. But I have to say it did taste very much like mine.
Cool.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Maybe
Okay,
maybe a little better.
But Bob, so we know you like writing. We know you love writing about beer.
Mhm.
Drink some beer. Do you ever drink beer when you're afraid? Which, kind of brings me into our point of what are you afraid of, Bob?
I wouldn't say I drink beer when I have this particular fear because it's never around when I'm experiencing it.
Oh, okay. So Bob, you got to tell us. Give us a little teaser.
Well,
of
it's
this
teaser.
This fear.
It's kind of a specified fear,
Okay.
and it's not a real big deal. But I'm afraid of heights if I don't have a place to put my feet that's solid. Like a ski lift is uncomfortable. I know about the ski lifts today if they have that, but
No, they don't.
But like a Ferris wheel wouldn't bother me,
Okay.
or flying on an airplane,
Wait,
the
but
window
some
seat doesn't bother me.
some Ferris wheels don't have feet, though, right?
I've never been on one like that, so
Maybe
I feel
San
like
Diego does it
I've,
differently.
I feel like I've seen it in movies.
Right? Your feet are hanging off. I don't know.
And you know the funny thing about this
there are
is
roller coasters, though, for sure.
I just saw a Facebook post today of some ski lift that started to speed up, like out of control, and like people were coming, and it was like,
just
like when it turned,
dumping
it was throwing people off, and they were yelling at people to like jump off before they like came around. One person didn't, and you just saw him go right into everything else, and then you never saw him again. And so it just makes me think you feel
Good Lord.
I don't know.
The
I don't
worst
know why.
fear come true.
I don't know why I have this fear because nothing ever happened to me to make me have that fear. But like if I'm on a ladder, even with a place for my feet, and I have to change a light bulb on the ceiling, that's uncomfortable for me. I can do it, but it's not comfortable.
So fear in general, but especially if your feet have no place to sit to rest.
Yes, especially that.
Okay.
So Bob, I feel like to get into this fear and really talk about it and feel comfortable with it, I feel like we need another drink, dude.
I think we need another drink, and we'll be back right after these special messages. I've had problems. My wife, she looks at my underwear as she does laundry, and she thinks, why am I with him? How am I with a man with stains in his underwear? I say this speaking metaphorically, because this is actually Derek's problem. But I have the solution. Why is Derek shitting in his pants every time he tries to fart? It's because he doesn't have Pepto. Pepto-Bismol. Saving marriages since 1977. And we're back.
We're back. Wow. Good job, Stu. I know you've been practicing that. You've been practicing your breath holds, right? You're trying to dive.
I was also hitting the perfect note for pleasance.
I don't know.
Did you guys,
Jesus.
did you find that pleasant?
I don't think you hit the note. Oh my
dick.
God, man. What note are you practicing at all?
I don't know. It's in the shower mostly.
Jesus.
We're back. We're back.
Yeah, we're back.
That's the point. That's the point. Forget about the note. Okay, Derek, forget about the note. Jeez. Can't even try to sing around here.
Bob was singing to me earlier, and it was awesome. So it's unfortunate that...
Let's not talk about this anymore. Can we introduce the beer already?
Yeah, please. Bob, so you brought this bad boy for us. So
Yes.
you got to tell us a little bit. I mean, you know what's up. So
This is a beer that my good friend James Manis, co-founder of Able Baker, gifted to me. And he knows that I like high ABV dark beers and barrel-aged beers, and this is both of those. So I have not had it before. It's called Infamy 2403. I don't know what the number represents, but it's a barrel-aged Imperial Porter, and it's 12.7%. And I'm going to try it for the first time with you guys.
beautiful.
That is awesome. And by the way, thank you for bringing this in for this experience. This is awesome, man.
Well, I've been saving it for a special occasion. I've had it for a few months, and
Oh, wow.
here we go.
Well, we feel honored and thank you.
Can I steal a little bit?
Yes.
I am very curious about the 2403. What does that mean? I think we need to do some investigation here.
As a reporter, I think I need to investigate.
Is it like
that.
24/7, but instead of working hard 24/7, they worked like really hard for like 3 days a week?
Days.
No, those guys work hard all the time. So I wouldn't think so.
It's a very curious question.
But
though.
you know, Able Baker has that whole atomic thing going on, so I wonder if it's some kind of atomic thing.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
You
the
know why
radioactive
it's
level.
called Able Baker, right?
Yeah, they're duck, right?
Yeah. So Able and Baker were the first two atomic bombs ever set off at the Nevada test site.
Yeah.
So as a tribute to Las Vegas history, they named it Able Baker, and their mascot is this duck, which supposedly a duck was the only animal that survived, which is a myth.
Yeah.
but
Can't imagine
don't
why.
tell anyone that I gave that away.
Hey, you know what? Mythology is just as important as reality,
Yes.
and that's perfectly fine.
And the ducks all over their
It's
their
beautiful.
tap handles are really cool.
Absolutely.
I love it, man.
All right, ready to
All right,
take the
guys.
first taste?
Let's do it.
Cheers.
Oh my god, I love that. It's so chocolatey, rich,
Oh my
sweet,
God.
chocolatey.
Oh, it is. Yes.
And you kind of get the barrel aged
Definitely
barrel aged
getting the
goodness
barrel-aged.
in the back end on that,
for
on the
sure.
aftertaste.
Yes. So how does this compare? I mean, I know you like a lot of dark beers. How would you differentiate this from, something like, let's say something as simple as a Guinness?
Oh, it's like night and day from a Guinness. A Guinness is actually a light beer.
It really is, right?
In,
Like
in
that's
terms of alcohol and even calories.
yeah, it's a very low
It's lower
caloric beer,
calorie than like
right?
a Miller Lite.
And
People
the,
don't believe it when you tell them that.
Yeah.
People really don't.
Well, the misconception is that the darker color of a beer makes it have more alcohol. It has nothing, absolutely nothing
Right.
to do with the alcohol.
So what is your favorite element of this beer? I mean, when you tasted it and you liked it right off the bat, what are you liking about this?
I really love beers that are malty sweet, and that's also why I like Belgian triples.
Mhm.
So I get a lot of the malty sweetness in this, and just rich and smooth, velvety.
Oh, that is very
flavors.
good.
That's a perfect way to say it because that's what I tasted right away. Is like it was just super smooth.
Mm.
There's no like crazy weird,
Very
back
smooth.
end. It's just very.
There's no
just goes down.
There's nothing. Yeah, it's interesting. There's nothing against the back of my throat. Like with a when you get some of these barrel aged stuff, you almost get a burn like a liquor, right? Like a little bit of. And I'm not getting any of that. It's but you get the taste.
Yep.
Well, I think we need to give a salute to Matt Marino. who's
Cheers.
their director of brewing operations.
We're gonna pour one out
and
for him,
Matt-
right? No,
Don't
okay,
pour it out.
I won't do that.
Don't you
It's
dare.
a sin to waste beer. But Matt Marino, he's been around and brewed at some really good places. He used to be the director of brewing operations at Joseph James, which is sadly now closed.
Oh yeah.
And before that, he also brewed for a time at Big Dogs.
Mm.
And also, if my memory serves me correct, I think he might have also been at 777.
Wow.
But don't quote me on that. Pretty sure he was. But anyway, Matt is one of the best brewers in Southern Nevada, I feel.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I got to ask you this because you used two terms about this beer, malty and sweet. So I'm going to go back to my beginnings of my love for craft beer. This goes back to college.
Back in 1972? Jesus, still.
Like 69. Of course it was 69.
Hey, I wasn't even in college then.
So I, of course, much like most, college kids, Coors Light, Bud Light, Keystone, most of the time. That was
Natty
cheaper.
Ice,
Natty.
Light.
Oh, of course.
I used to always buy Keystone back in
Keystone.
the early 80s.
How could you go
Schlitz.
wrong? How could you go wrong? So the first beer that I loved that was not that wasn't one of those standard, Pilsner lager style beers, Killian's Irish Red.
Oh, which is actually amazing, though. I love that beer.
Yeah. Well, I would say it's still, but I think before it was bought by Molson Coors, I think it was better.
Okay.
Do you remember Killian's
Definitely.
back in the day, and did you
Yeah.
like it?
I did. Of course, back then, I'm talking about like the late 80s, early 90s. That was a beer to be excited about because there weren't a whole lot of choices.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of beer with flavor besides the macro brews.
Right. Killian's was fantastic. And then the other one, the big elephant in the room, came out in the early 2000s, was Blue Moon.
Yeah.
And then that was the one that I think excited. Now, again, obviously now it's a huge overplayed beer, but let's give it its due. I think it was actually pretty impressive back in the day. And everyone was like, whoa, you can actually have flavorful beer in the grocery store.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I will never put someone down for liking a particular beer.
No.
I mean,
I do.
Everybody has different tastes. Well, I don't. I think everybody's entitled to like what they like.
Yeah. That's a good point, man, because, Emma was on the show.
Yeah.
We asked her about beer. She's like, well, Blue Moon's my jam, which
Nothing
is
wrong with Blue Moon.
fantastic, dude.
Nothing wrong with Blue Moon. It's a good hangover beer. I'll tell you that much.
It is
That's
good.
my daughter Stephanie's favorite beer is Blue Moon.
It's fantastic.
It's a good beer.
Yeah. But you know what, Bob? I gotta circle back real quick. You said macro brew, and I feel like, obviously people know beer, they should know this, but we may have some new listeners that don't really know about beer.
That's right.
You say macro brew. What's a macro brew compared to a micro brew?
Well, a macro brew would be one that's produced in macro quantities like Bud, Miller, and Coors.
Yep.
But also those beers use a lot of adjuncts like corn and rice. And it just makes it lighter, more easier drinking. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but craft beer drinkers tend to want more flavor.
Sure. Yeah, I like it.
I remember Bud Light having a Super Bowl ad a few years ago. I don't know if you guys remember this, but they had the knight, I think, was riding around attacking the Coors Light Castle and the Miller Castle. And it was all about the, they didn't use any corn syrup.
Yeah, I remember that.
Do you remember that one?
Uh-uh.
And they were like talking about the corn syrup. And then I remember this coming out, and I could be wrong, but basically that like, yeah, you guys still do use corn syrup, and you're just total like how do you put, at the time probably $4 million for a Super Bowl ad into this one concept when you're not even telling the truth about it?
Here's the thing, and I got this from watching Mad Men. They never said they never used corn syrup. They're just saying the other people used corn syrup. Boom!
Oh, boy.
So automatically, you're the good guy, and they
boy.
think you don't use corn syrup. But hey, we never said we don't.
Is that
use
true?
corn
Is
syrup.
that what it was? They never actually said.
No,
that they
but I'm
didn't.
just assuming that's what it was.
You could be right.
Well, even going back some years before that, maybe 4 or 5 years, or maybe even less than that, they had a Super Bowl commercial where they were making fun of craft beers, and they were making fun of this one peach pumpkin beer. And lo and behold, they didn't even know that a week earlier they had bought a small craft brewery that made that actual beer.
I love it.
Yes.
So they
it's
really
too
had
funny.
pumpkin in their face after that.
Oh, beautiful.
man.
Well done.
I love that.
Well done. No, you look at a company as big as Anheuser, and they don't know what the fuck they're doing. I mean, they bought Ballast Point for what? $1 billion? Maybe it wasn't $1 billion. That might be an over exaggeration, but it was like 10 or 100 million, and it just failed after that. And I have particular love for Ballast Point because I grew up in San Diego.
Yeah, Ballast Point is great.
Fantastic brewery.
Well, I think the difficulty now is people don't know who owns the beer that they're buying for the most part.
Totally.
Yeah.
So unless it says independent brewed on the can,
The upside down bottle.
yeah.
Look for the upside down bottle.
So it could be owned by who knows. So
Well, that too, but yes.
but I don't know if the
that's-
consumer really cares. I think most consumers just care that their beer tastes good.
Yeah, I mean that's all we want. We want a good beer, and I guess I don't necessarily care who it's from, as long as it's a good beer. But at the same time, I mean, obviously, local Las Vegas. I want to buy local, so I do go to our breweries first. So
I always want to select local.
That's what you're
if I have a
looking for.
choice.
that's what you mean.
That's what you're looking for. That means
Gotcha.
Upside down
you got
bottle.
that upside down bottle on your label. That
Yeah.
means you are an independent craft brewer.
Love it.
And I kind of do care about it being independent, but
Yeah.
I can't fault anyone for drinking beer that they want to drink.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely my first choice is always going to be local if possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
100%.
just want to insert this too, that I would say like 5 to 10 years ago, if you would go into a place here in Las Vegas and you saw they had a local beer, that would be unusual.
Sure.
Now it's the opposite. It's unusual to go into a place that doesn't have at least one local beer. And I'm always amazed at places on the strip. They get all kinds of tourists and they don't want to have a bunch of local beers.
Yeah.
And guess what? If we're on vacation, we're beer guys, what are you going to want to try? You're
The
going to want to
local.
try a beer that you can't get back home.
Sure.
100%. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
they're just either being ignorant or lazy by not checking out the local beers.
Yeah.
Well, look at the Golden Knights Stadium, right?
Mhm.
T-Mobile Arena. They brought in 7.5 Brewing, which is brewed by who?
Able Baker.
Able Baker, right?
Beautiful.
But they knew that, hey, even though they knew that they were going to get a lot of tourists here, people don't want to just simply drink their Coors Light. And again, I'm throwing Coors and Bud under the table. Look, their beer is fine. Clearly, they're it's on a hot summer day. It ain't bad.
And they're still the top selling beers. So.
And they don't give a shit that I'm throwing them under the bus.
Yeah.
But the point is that you're right. 5 years ago, if they had built a hockey stadium, or call it 10 years ago, they had built a hockey stadium, they would not have invested in a craft brewery to come in and, but hey, guess what? It's 2017 when they launched. They said, hey, let's get someone in here that's interesting and unique and local to us. And just so happened to be Ryan Reeves, who's on the team. Well, at the time he wasn't, but eventually, I think in 2018, they brought in 7.5 Brewing. And I'm sure that beer, the 7.5 Brewing, probably brings in well more money than the other beers that they have on tap.
Yeah.
Interestingly, just today, I worked on writing an article about 7.5 Brewing and the whole story of Ryan Reeves and Adam Coates teaming up together to make this beer. So what they do is they come up with their ideas and flavors that they want, and then they talk to the guys at Able Baker, and then they figure out how to make what they're looking for. So far they've released 4 different beers.
Yep.
And so I don't know if they're going to do more or not, just kind of up in the air, but they're all good beers. I've appreciated all of them, and especially their most recent one, which is an Imperial Stout. So
yeah. What was that one called? Because that was a recent release. Because it has a cool name. I remember it having a cool name. It was like a dark thing
I think it's Grim Reaper.
Grim Reaver.
Yep.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I think it's not huge ABV. I think it's 8%, but it's enough that you're drinking something substantial.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm kind of curious about, and you may not have the answer, or you may not want to tell us about it. What is what's the financial model for Able Baker in a situation like 7.5 Brewing? I mean, it's basically like a white label that they're doing at this point. How does this whole thing work, and how does it benefit Able Baker?
Well, it's called contract brewing. So the 7.5 guys, they pay Able Baker to make the beer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a win-win.
They get a little bit more scale at Able Baker.
And they get paid for making it. And 7.5 has the opportunity to have someone making their beer.
Cool.
And I did a lengthy Q&A with both guys via email questions and answers. And they checked out the different locals, and they liked what Able Baker was doing. And so they went with them.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Able Baker themselves started out as contract brewing.
That's right, yeah, because they were brewing with, wasn't it Joseph James?
Yes,
or
it
no?
was.
It was Joseph James. Okay, yeah.
Before they had built their brew pub there on Main Street.
Yeah,
Speaking of
favorite.
that, oh my God, can you believe the Arts District? And
it's
insane, dude.
I wrote down all of the breweries' names just so I wouldn't leave anyone out.
Let's hear. Yeah, we got to hear what's all on there.
The first one was Hop Nuts. They were the first.
They were the originals, the OGs,
and then. I'm not sure who opened after that, but there was Able Baker, might have been the next one. Then Craft House Tap Room, Mad for Menace Tap Room, Beer District opened a little bit before.
Now,
about the same time.
Beer District Brewing is on the north side of Charleston.
Yes.
Is that's still considered Arts District? I
It
guess
is.
because
I think the whole little
the Arts District is 18 blocks, and that's in that
18 bin. Yes, that's why it's called. Yeah,
and then the 2 newest ones to open are Nevada Brew Works and Huddle, which are side on Main Street. But then you also have,
and you can't even distinguish the two when you're outside
at all.
Yeah, they share the same patio, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But then you also have some great craft beer bars. There's the newest one to open is the Silver Stamp, and then also the Cerveza is pretty new, and 3 Sheets, which is on the bottom level of where Mad for Menace is. But I gotta say, the Silver Stamp is like one of the coolest beer bars I've ever been to.
Now, describe to me the Silver Stamp and its appeal. So, because I did a little bit of research, I started seeing it around, and it looks like it's a very normal bar.
It sounds like a strip club to me.
From the 70s.
Sounds like
right?
a strip club to me.
Well, anything in Vegas can sound like a strip club. That's true. Yeah. But I saw some pictures, and is it the nostalgia vibe?
I think a lot of it's that. I mean, Rose took her old beer can collection and made a wall out of it.
That's the one.
She actually glued it all together.
Yeah.
But then they have all these like neon beer lights that from the 70s. Whenever they got anything that's old, they have up there. They even have a stuffed javelina, which is a swine native to
you don't fuck with javelinas, by the way, in the wild.
Sedona,
I don't know what it is.
Arizona.
I have no idea what that is.
It's a wild hog
pig.
Okay.
You don't fuck with it.
Yeah, you don't. No.
It will fuck you up. I'm just telling you that right now.
Yeah, I mean,
learn my lesson in Sedona.
Yeah. But not only the cool surroundings of that place, but the beer selection that she and Andrew have there. There's so many beers that you won't find anywhere else in town.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily tons of local beers, but they have some. But there's a lot of international beers too.
Whoa.
And Rose and Andrew actually took 9 or 10 months, and they traveled the world.
Really?
And got to appreciate the different beer cultures, mainly in Europe. And so they brought that back with them, and they're putting on these incredible beers that you won't find anywhere else in Las Vegas.
Wow.
They have some that you won't find anywhere else in Nevada.
Really? We got to go.
Got to get them on the show.
We got to do a podcast from there.
You should.
How cool would
That
that
would
be?
be a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to go.
Yeah.
It looked very interesting to me. You just told me a heck of a lot more than what I had seen. And it wasn't that I didn't think it looked cool, but to me, it looked like, okay, you're just playing on nostalgia, but it sounds like they've done their homework.
Yeah.
Quite a bit of homework.
Which is neat. I like that. Yeah.
And Rose used to be the bar manager at Atomic.
Okay.
Atomic Liquors when it first reopened.
Yeah.
And so she kind of turned that place into a craft beer bar and actually introduced a lot of people to sour beers.
Yeah.
And she started the Sour Beer Fest called Sour Saturdays. By the time that she first started putting those on, there was only like dozens of people. And it eventually, before the pandemic, became one of the largest sour beer fests in the U.S.
Whoa.
Wow.
How cool, man. Yeah, we definitely need to try and get around. That's awesome.
Derek, do you like sour beers?
You know what? I do. I like them, but my body doesn't like them.
You have more than one.
I get a lot. I feel old when I say this, but I get a lot of, heartburn and like, I don't know what it is.
Indigestion,
man. Like,
upset stomach, diarrhea. That is
just
Pepto-Bismol.
Pepto, yeah.
That's all you need.
Oh God, Jesus. Let me take a shot of Pepto first, but
And by the way, Beer Freaks is brought to you by Pepto-Bismol.
All right, Bob. So I think we've had a couple drinks in us. Now it's time, dude. Now you're here. It's ready to talk about your fear, man. It's like a therapy session at a bar.
Well, I have
which
another
feel like
fear that's probably bigger than that one.
Oh boy.
It's going to sound sappy, but
Yeah.
my greatest fear in life is losing loved ones. Like my beloved wife, Lolly, or my beloved daughter, Stephanie, and her husband, Brett. So I'm glad this is made of wood because my wife would make me knock on wood. But,
all day, yep.
But I'd say that's my number one fear just because I value them so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No,
there's the sappy part out of the way.
No, I totally
No,
agree
that's-
with you, though. I mean,
That's legit. So, I mean, given that, and of course, that is a very legitimate fear. That's something that obviously a lot of people deal with. Has this last year been particularly hard on you with COVID? I mean, does it concern you when you think about the things that are going on out there?
To be honest with you, it hasn't been that rough on me because I work at home anyway for the most part.
Yeah.
And I did lose 10 pounds without even trying for the first couple months because there were no restaurants to go to.
beautiful.
Well, about half of the
COVID
people who worked from home for COVID for a year are pissed off at you right now because I know I, being one of them, put on at least 10 pounds.
I lost weight.
So
Well, don't
both of you,
Well, don't feel bad because I gained it all back.
So now, okay, so we got the fear of losing a loved one,
Yes.
and then we have the fear of heights, but it's got a little stipulation.
Right.
Your feet have to be secured.
Yeah, then I'm totally fine.
Okay.
In fact, on a plane, I always want the window seat. I love looking out the window.
Cool. Okay. Well, yeah, let's dive in, man. Let's do it.
Dive on in.
The only thing I can think of is when I was a kid, we had on top of our garage, had a basket hoop.
Mm-hmm.
And occasionally the ball would go up on the roof.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And so I'd have to climb up on the roof to get the ball.
Yeah.
And I remember always being tentative, had to climb up on our brick wall. I had to it was several steps. There was a wooden gate that had little slats of wood in it. So I had to climb up there and get to the top of the brick and then carefully get on the roof. So I just always remember being tentative doing that. And then I get the ball and throw it down and come back down. So.
Okay.
But did you ever fall?
No, that's the thing. I've never had a fall from being up on a height, so I don't know where it came from.
So just right away, like literally climbing up there, you just had this kind of like.
Yeah, that's the first
Weird.
time I remember having that fear when I was probably like 12 or 13.
Yeah.
And doing that.
Okay. No, I mean I get it. Like I totally get it. Have
you ever skydived?
I've never said, and I want to. Bad.
Have you ever bungee jumped?
I
will not bungee jump. I will skydive over bungee jump all day.
I would never do either of those. And
I've bungee jumped twice. I have not skydived. Dived.
I wouldn't rock climb either.
Really? Okay. Well, guess what, Bob? Tonight we have a free skydiving trip for you.
That's right. The plane's actually outside right now.
Yep.
or a helicopter. We're gonna bungee jump out of the helicopter.
Yeah, why not?
It's
We're
Kobe.
gonna bungee jump.
It's Kobe's
and when the
helicopter.
Bungee jump hits the bottom. We're gonna release, and then we're gonna skydive the rest of the way.
That's right. That's how we roll.
I
and then squirrel suit.
I think I have to go now.
Have you guys seen the squirrel suit videos though
Yeah,
of like
dude.
those guys?
Oh
who are
yeah,
just
that's crazy.
going through like the holes in the rocks.
I think those guys are so brave. I wonder what the death rate of.
Oh, dude,
It's not good.
it
I
is
would
not
think
good.
Not good.
Those guys are either the bravest guys in the world, or they have a death wish, or they just think they're invincible.
Well, there's actually psychological like things that happen if you start doing these extreme sports before you hit puberty. It actually blocks some sensors in your brain.
Really?
Right. So like if you're hitting huge snowboarding jumps
Yeah.
when you're 11 years old or 10 years old, or skiing jumps, or hitting the half pipe on the skateboard, or you try bungee jumping when you're 10.
Can you skydive when you're 10?
I don't know. I don't know. I am not going to recommend it here. Beer Freaks does not condone 10-year-old skydiving.
So what you're saying
If you break it though early, if you
Yeah.
break it before you hit, something about puberty is like when these things solidify in your fear sort of dimension.
Yeah.
You sure it's puberty and not maturity?
What's the difference?
No. I like that point though, because Charlie, remember when we had Charlie on
Yeah.
talking about fear? Like I can see it, like Travis Pastrana,
Mhm.
crazy dude, man, like jumping out. He did that Red Bull scene where he jumped out of a plane, no parachute, and jumped out of one plane into another, like no parachute. He had people around him, obviously with parachutes. If someone went wrong, they could
Sure.
get him, but still,
They
like
might get them.
they might get him. But I think he'd been, doing motocross
Sure.
for like
Yeah.
freaking ever since he was like 3.
What about that guy? I can't
Free solo.
remember his name. Yeah.
Oh,
I watched that documentary. It was unbelievable. He climbed without any ropes or anything.
Nothing.
The top of what is it, Half Dome? And
Half Dome.
yeah,
in Yosemite.
that just straight. How do you get? Okay, so I'm glad you saw that, because how do you get to that point mentally, to where literally every move you make,
you could die.
you could die? How do you just block that out?
I think that goes back to that psychology of like, this is what you live for,
Yeah.
right? And actually, that's problematic because
Yeah.
normal life doesn't even seem fucking worthwhile.
No.
That's what.
Yeah.
Full transparency, I still have not seen Free Solo, but everyone tells me that
watch
the
it.
guy was a maniac and he was basically like that's what he lived for. And I think that it's the same with a lot of these people that you see, where it's just like they when they're not doing their extreme sport, they're thinking about their extreme sport. Otherwise, they just don't have like normal life. Just doesn't seem the same.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem like
I think everyone
What am I doing?
has things in life that they're passionate about, like
Yeah.
like what you guys are doing here, and what I do with my writing,
yeah.
and so unfortunately for them, their passion is something that could end their life in
Yeah.
a split second. So
Have you-
Fortunately or unfortunately, because clearly it's also led to a lot of fame.
Yeah.
And depending on how you feel about fame, it's I think you have to have these heroes. It's like you go back to the Roman times and the gladiators, that you've got to have the people who are stretching the limits. That's why we all love Top Gun. That's why we love watching these people do what they do, because look, I'm not going to fucking climb Half Dome. I wouldn't climb something that a tenth of the size of Half Dome without gear. I wouldn't even probably do it with gear. But it's incredible to watch these feats of human beings that can do these incredible things.
Yep.
And I would like to think that Derek and I are very Herculean when it comes to drinking beer.
Yeah.
That's not all that impressive, unfortunately.
That's a big deal.
But we can do some cool things with it. And so can you, and that's why we're all here talking about beer, because this is our passion.
Yep. Now, Bob.
yes,
So with your fear in heights, was there ever a time in your life that like really, I mean, you talked about going on the roof to get the basketball and stuff like that, but was there ever a time where you were doing something up high that just like totally stood out to you, that you're like, oh my God, this is it. Like I hate heights. I can't do this. Like I cannot.
there were a few times when I was hiking, not rock climbing, but hiking,
Yeah.
doing some bouldering, and there was a couple places where I had to kind of jump over something where if I missed it, I would like fall very far to my death.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
So, but that was years ago. I don't do that kind of hiking anymore because I'm an old guy.
Yeah.
I'm 64, so I do much more easier hiking now. But this is back like when I was in my 40s, and I was much more of a risk taker back then than I am now.
See, but that's cool that you still do it even with the fear, which is really cool.
And I still got the basketball off the roof because I still wanted to play basketball.
See, yeah.
Still did it. And there was a purpose behind it.
Exactly. So there's I feel there's something there with the fear, you can kind of block the fear out if it's something you really want to do, right?
Sure.
If there's some passion behind it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think it's time to wrap this bad boy up.
I like it.
Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
I think this has been a fantastic discussion. The beer you brought from Able Baker was so damn good, we finished it. And this is a 22, I believe, a 22 ouncer.
Yep.
And so you brought another beer that we're just going to use to close this out as we kind of wrap things up. So why don't you tell us about the other beer that you brought?
Well, as I may have mentioned earlier, I love Imperial Stouts and I love barrel-aged beer, and this is both. So this is Sled Dog from Big Dogs Brewing. It's 12.5% AB, and I actually have had it before, and it's quite wonderful.
Is it one of your tops?
Yeah,
Very nice.
tops right now. People always ask me what my favorite beer is, and I always have the same answer.
Yeah.
It's free beer. But
yeah.
So this can be your favorite because it's free to you.
There you go.
Yes. One of the reasons we started the podcast.
Yep. Free beer is a good beer.
Yeah.
Well,
Indeed.
I don't know.
So should I pop it?
Yeah, if you don't mind,
Here we go.
pour yourself first as the guest. I guess we could have poured for
fantastic.
you, but look, we're still sort of in COVID time, so you don't want to overreach.
Yeah. That's why I just
Thanks,
turned
sir.
it off. Yes.
And can I
Derek?
just give a plug to Dave Pasquale, who has
Yes.
won more major brewing medals than anyone in the history of the state of Nevada.
So while we enjoy this Sled Dogs from Big Dogs Brewing, well done, by the way, fantastic beer. Bob, tell us a little bit about, as we close things out, where can people read your stuff? Where can people find you? How can they reach out if they have any questions about beer or anything about the food scene in Vegas? Because you're sort of resident expert here.
All right. Well, first of all, for 12 years, I was the editorial director of the Las Vegas Food and Beverage Professional, which sadly went out of publication at the end of December. But it might be making a comeback this summer. We'll see. But since 2010, I've been covering Las Vegas for Gayot.com, which is mainly a restaurant news
Top
website.
restaurants, right?
So I write weekly posts for the Gayot Las Vegas restaurant news page. So I write about new restaurants and write about special events, things like that. And but after the Las Vegas Food and Beverage Professional quit publishing, so I had a monthly beer column in that, and a monthly restaurant column, and a product review column. So I've kind of picked up the slack since then, and I'm now writing a monthly column for Gayot called the Gayot Las Vegas Brewing News page.
Nice.
Which you can actually access from the Gayot restaurant news page. And I also started writing beer articles for Las Vegas Magazine. And now I'm very pleased to announce for the first time ever that I've been asked to write weekly articles for OTS Media, which encompasses the On the Strip and Off the Strip websites. So www.offthestrip and www.onthestrip. And I'm very happy that I'm working again with Melinda Shekels, who was my editor when I wrote for Vegas 7. So
That's awesome.
So those are the publications I'm now writing for, and I'm very, very excited about OTS Media.
Love it, man.
Yeah.
Well, Bob, incredible conversation. Probably the most beer knowledge from Las Vegas we've had on the show.
Thank you.
And this show has officially been around for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Not that that's a whole lot of time, but we've had a lot of guests and we've had a lot of great people. Pat Evans, again, who you know well, being one of them. So again, thank you so much for coming out. This has been a heck of an interview. We really appreciate everything that you've told us today.
Well, thank you. I really enjoyed it, and I wasn't nearly as nervous as I thought.
Yeah.
I think the beer might have helped.
Yep. See,
That's
the
what it's
thing,
all
man.
about, man.
You gotta have a couple beers, talk about your fears, and just shoot the shit.
That's what we do.
That's it.
That's what we do.
But I love it. Thank you again, Bob.
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate it, man.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
Awesome. Well, Derek, another great episode. Thank you for always being the perennially, I don't know, okay co-host.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Like meh, I don't know.
Okay, that's perfect. No, that's like way more than what I thought I was doing.
No, you're
So that's
awesome,
good.
man. You're awesome. Thank you again. And you know what? I think we're coming up on almost the 1 year anniversary of us
Yeah.
being co-hosts.
It's gonna be a massive year.
And we're going to have a gigantic celebration. No one's invited. It's just Derek and I. We're just going to drink beer. But hey, thanks again, man. And look, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be seeing you.